Now let's look at, we spoke yesterday, right? That all the information that we have, or whatever information we have in general, it will be of various data types, right? It will have various data types. Now, when I say data type, it's the same thing that we discussed yesterday, right? That every variable or every data will have a certain type of the value that it is representing, right? So Python has some standard inbuilt data types. So the first one is numeric, which is basically any numeric values that Python represents. Now within numeric data type, you have first thing is integer, which is positive or negative whole numbers without a fractional part. Quickly just assign these two integers, x equal to 12, y equal to 3. I'll just run it right away here. And I'll try to print this as well. So see, I just assigned this value integer and then try to sum both of these, x plus y equal to 15. I was able to do that. Those are the integer data types. You can do some arithmetic operations on these integers, common stuff, right? Division, multiplication, subtraction. Okay, and this double operator, right? This division operator used twice is basically what gives you that modulus, or basically the reminder after dividing the number. I hope it's not a very big deal to figure out. And then, of course, the Bottom-Mass rule is followed here. So you all know the Bottom-Mass rule, right? Brackets, operator, division, multiplication, addition, and then subtraction happens in the end if there are a number of mathematical operations to be done in a single statement. So the same way it has happened here, right? First, as per the Bottom-Mass rule, first multiplication will happen and then addition will happen. So it's like 3 into 2 equal to 6 plus 4, 10, right? Everyone comfortable with this? And of course, now, because bracket has the highest priority, so the same statement I can write like this and my result will change because now I have given brackets. So the first thing that will be processed will be brackets. So this 3 plus 4 will become 7, and then 7 will be multiplied by 2 to give 14. Guys, try it. I would want your workbooks, right? So whatever work you're doing, all these codes I want to be written at your end. I would want to see your workbooks in the end. Okay. All right. So now let's move forward. Then you have float, right? So the data type integer we have looked at here. We've seen the operation on the integer. Float is basically a real number with a floating value representation. Basically, a fractional number can also be represented here, or it can be shown using a scientific notation. So like all the decimal numbers, basically real numbers, are your float data type. They're stored in the data type float. And many of you might be knowing this if you have ever attended any programming session in general, right? That the first component in any programming language is these data types. So you have these data types. You can assign the values like this. The same way you were doing an arithmetic operation there, you could do here as well. Then you have complex numbers. We've all studied that, right? A real and imaginary part. For us, from a generic data science perspective, it's not going to be very useful to begin with. Like any of the modeling work that you do in general is not going to require complex numbers. So we're not going to bother too much about them. But they're there. I just want to make sure that you know that there are complex number data type as well available in Python. And so that was your numeric data types. And then you have Boolean, right? What is Boolean? Can someone recall from yesterday anything similar to Boolean? That did we see any variable which will be stored in the data type Boolean from yesterday's data? Yes, binary. Can you remember the variable which from that movie data set, which variable would be Boolean? Oscar, perfect. Fabulous. So basically it's like true false variables. And remember that you have to keep in mind that this is nothing. This is not the Boolean data type, because this is case sensitive. So when you use capital T, that's when it means that you're referring to the Boolean data type in Python. I've mentioned this here as well, that T and F has to be capital. True and false in small case are not valid Boolean types, right? And Python throws an error for them, of course. Okay, then comes the sequences, right? So like sequence is basically what? It's an ordered collection of different data types. Python has following built-in sequences. Let's go ahead, get started with them. And before going into sequence, actually, right, string is not a sequence. Actually, it's a data type. The guy who was doing it has made a mistake here, I believe. So string data type is basically what will store the text data, right? Text is how? Any text. If you store your name, that's a text, right? The rule of thumb to write any text or assign any text variable is whatever text you have, it needs to be written within quotes. Everyone knows that, right? I think I don't need to go too much in detail that whenever you do a text variable, it needs to be within quotes. Perfect. And now how do you combine text or string? Let's say these two strings, right? Quickly write this code at your end. Type this code at your end real quick and tell me what did you receive, right? I'm just trying to concatenate the two strings, which basically means that one string had the value Zorba, other one has consulting. And now I'm using this plus operator. So this plus operator, when you use on string data type, it basically means concatenation. But the same thing when you use a numeric data type, it means what? It means addition on numeric data type, right?